Anja here, and I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks. And today we are making this gingham style blanket. Now, with using this particular technique and a clever use of colours, you can make a stunning blanket. This technique, where we use 2 strands, is very clever in using one strand while hiding another. And look at the wonderful results you can have. This is of course a blanket for Layla, but you can make this any size you want. Just listen out for the multiple and you'll be on your way. I have added a lovely bow there, just as a lovely way of finishing the blanket. The border is quite special as well, with the woven in chain. Come on, let's get started. For this project I am using King Cole Cotton Soft. It's a DK thickness, it's 100% cotton, and this one is white, this one is rose, and this one is rose petal. And I have chosen these colors especially so it would make up the look for the gingham blanket. As it is a DK thickness, I'm going to be using my 3.5. That's the hook I always use for DK, so use which hook you usually use. Also, you will need a measuring tape and the usual suspects of your scissors and a darning needle, of course, to weave in those ends. I wanted to make a cotton blanket for Layla's bed, so of course you can use whichever yarn you want. The main thing is that you have 3 colors that sort of go together like this. So white, a light of the same darker color. So here we have the white. We are going to get started by chaining our starting row. So we are making a slip knot. Insert your hook and we're going to chain 70. Like I said, this is going to be for Layla's bed. You can chain as many or as wide as you want, but it has to be, in my case here, a multiple of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is a chain of 70. So now I'm going to chain 1. This is our turning chain and it doesn't count. So we're just going to disregard that one. This one here is our 70th chain. And in there, I'm going to do a double crochet. So yarn over, insert. And I insert into this location here. So you've got 2 strands on your hook there and 1 below there. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. In fact, you're going to do a double crochet in the first 10 stitches. If you do this well, and if you count everything twice that you're doing now, you know, count and recount, and you know you've done this one, this first row properly, then you'll be off for the rest of the blanket. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, our 9th one here, and this is my 10th double crochet. So you're going to start your 10th double crochet, but then you leave the last pull through. So now you would be yarning over and pulling through. We are not going to do that, but we are going to do that with the second color. So you bring in your second color, you yarn over and you pull it through. And that way you finish your double crochet in white, but you are also ready for your first double crochet in rose. Now, when you do your double crochets in rows, you're not only going to pick up the V from the chain, you're also going to take along your white. So yarn over, insert, pick up those 2 strands there and 1 strand there. Make sure you also have your white strand lying there. Pull up your loop and do your double crochet. And we do that for 10 double crochets. And as you can see, look, let me just do a few more so you can see it clearly. I have no strand at the back here because my white is running along inside the stitches. So insert and make sure you also have your white incorporated into the base of your stitch. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 and 10. So that 10th one, once again, you do it but only halfway. Then you leave your yarn behind. You pick up your white again, hold on to it, and you finish your stitch in white. Gently tug the rows so you properly form your double crochet. Lay the rows along your chain and start doing your white double crochets. Oh, that split a bit. There we go. Your white double crochets, making sure you are taking along your rows. See, look, I've got the rows lying at the base of those stitches, and here the white is lying there. And that way we can do a whole row, of course, in 2 colors without having to cut off the yarns. So once again, we are doing 10 double crochets in white. Let me just count. 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Okay, so I should not have done that last pull through. Undo it and then swap to your rows again. So you pick up your rows, pull that through, tug the white and start using your rows. Making sure, of course, you are taking along your white. And this is how you are going to continue all along your chain. So you're doing 10 stitches in white, then 10 stitches in rows, and you make sure that you take the other color along. You swap colors during the last pull through of the last stitch each time. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Undo that last pull through, change color, and off we go again. Just doing my last stitch here. And I kept taking along my rows along these last 10 white stitches. So now we're going to start the next row. And so you chain 1, just like before. We're going to disregard this chain. Then you turn. And now we're going to start doing white again, because of course we're making squares of white. But we also need to take along our rows, because of course we need it here again. So when you yarn over here, you insert into that first stitch. You will also have to make sure that you're actually laying this one along your stitches, so that you pick that up to take with you while doing the white stitches. See? So then you do your 10 white stitches. Okay, so those are my 10 white stitches. Haven't done the last pull through, and you're just going to start using rows again as you go on top of the rows stitches here. And of course you take along your white. Make sure that the strand that you're taking along is lying nicely along the stitches. Make sure it doesn't poke out, and make sure it doesn't get too tight either. Okay, and make sure you shape your stitches nicely by just giving them a little tug before you continue crocheting. So here once again I'm ready for changing color. And so this time I'm going to be having my rows run along while I use, see, little tug, while I use the white. Now, this is how you are going to continue for a number of rows until your width of your little square, for me that's 6 centimeters, is the same as your height of your square. So I'm going to have to do a couple of more rows. So I'm thinking I'll have to do 5 rows of double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to have a square in my color. So I will now be back when I have reached that point where I have obtained a square in my colors. So you just keep doing your chain 1, turning, and then doing your stitches on top of the same colored stitches, taking along the other color yarn. So at the end of the row, you know you've got to do 10 double crochets, so make sure you do 10 there. And this last one here is often sort of hiding a bit, so you need to tip the work towards you to see it. So there are the 2 strands there of the V that you have to pick up. So to avoid getting your yarns entangled, I generally make sure that one is there and the other one is here. So I keep them in those positions and just use them as they are. So now I'm going to turn. So I'm going to chain 1, turn, then bring up the other color, then yarn over and do my first double crochet, incorporating of course the rose color as well. There we go. And then here, that little strand there, if I pull that just gently, you will see it tightens up a bit, but don't pull it too tight because obviously, you know, it'll cinch in your blanket. Just make sure it lies there nicely. And off you go again. So like I said, 5 rows, and I will be back to see you to change colors. So I've just finished my first 5 rows, and the width of the blanket is just about 44 centimeters. And so one square, so if you look at it a little bit closer like so, so if we look at just one square, the width is about 6 centimeters, and so is the height. So you can make this bigger, of course, by adding stitches in the width and then also doing more rows, but it has to work out. So the first part you have to do is work out how many double crochets and how high you want to make it. So this works out, they're nice squares. So I'm now going to continue with the second row where we are going to be using a different color. So we're going to leave behind the white, and I am going to cut it off just to make it easier. And we are going to bring in the rose petal. Now I'm going to call this petal because otherwise it's going to be just confusing, rose and rose petal. So you pull through the last pull through with your rose, then chain 1, and we start our 10 double crochets for the square that we're going to be putting on top of this white one. And when I've done my 10 double crochets, I will be adding on the rose petal, or at least the petal color. So you do your half double crochet and then you add in your second color. There we go. Once again, we're taking along the other color. So of course now you're taking that along the actual rose color as well, because of course we are swapping colors about. So really, in every row we will be using rose, and in the first set we use white and rose, and then the second set we use rose and rose petal. So I am now going to keep on repeating the same sequence as we have done here, and as I have started here. So 5 rows of this configuration, then 5 rows of this configuration. Again, 5, 5, 5, and so on. So I will see you now when my blanket is tall enough. And I am just doing the last few stitches of my blanket here. It was so lovely to work on this. It was particularly nice because you know, there was like, you did 5 rows in a particular color combination, and then you went on to the other color combination, and so that made things go really quickly, because you thought, oh, you know, let's just do another 5 rows. And because of course my rows were not very long, this is a Layla blanket, it did work up really quickly. So I've just done my last stitch and I have cut off the yarn already. And yeah, I really love the effect. Look at this. Now, as usual, for the border, all the tips and tricks that I usually say apply here. So here we have the V's that we can use. That's easy. Here, of course, we don't. So we have to work with the width of the double crochet, or the length, whichever way you see it. And so I don't think that putting 2 stitches per length of a double crochet works. That creates too many stitches for me. So what I generally do is I put 1 here in between the 2, 1 on it, and then 1 in between. That way you do 3 stitches over 2 lengths of double crochets. So now I'm going to choose a color that I am going to use for my border, and I have worked in such a way that the dark pink is not on the side. So because that's not touching the side, I'm going to use that for my border. So let's get started with our petal color, and I'm going to make my slip knot, insert my hook. I'm still using my same hook, and I am going to start here placing my stitches under the V's, then doing the corner, and then also showing you how to do the stitches on the side. So for a border, I always like to start with either a single crochet round or a half double crochet round. For establishing the border, it's best to use half double crochets or single crochets. So let's get started. Yarn over, insert under any V, and we are going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through the 3 loops on your hook. And of course we're going to be placing a half double crochet in each stitch. That means at the top and at the base of your blanket, like so. Then when you encounter the last stitch here, that one is going to be our corner. So in the corner we are going to do 2 half double crochets, a chain, and then we slightly turn the blanket and we place another 2 half double crochets into that same stitch. And this has now made our corner. So we have made the turn. Now, of course, we are going to be using our sort of judgment to see where we are going to be placing our stitches. So here I see the body of a double crochet, and I'm going to go right in the middle of it. Then here, there's a location here where there's like a hole there. I'm going to use that one. Then, just see where you think is best, maybe in here or actually into that stitch there. Yeah, that's a good one. Now here you can see there's this little strand lying there. Make sure you incorporate that into your stitch, so it's it's not away, but it's higher up, so it's almost away. Then here I'm going to put it quite close to there. Yeah, I'm just trying to maintain the same distance between my stitches, not going too deep either. Just do your best. The main rule here is trying to avoid the border going wavy. And so less is more. Less is more. So put as few stitches as you can get away with, and making sure your blanket is still, or your border is still lying flat. Now, when you get to the base of your blanket and you are picking up the stitches on that starting chain, you are picking up, or better going underneath that one leftover chain that there still is. And if you find it hard to get into it, it might be an idea to just twist your hook, go under it like this, and then continue making your stitch. And of course here we are just picking up 1 stitch for each chain loop that there is left over. I will see you at the end of your first border round. So I'm just doing my last half double crochet here, then I skip the standing stitch, go over to that next V, I go into that one and I do my slip stitch to finish the round. Now the thing is, we could easily continue from here, but we need to know where we are in our next round. So I'm going to cut off the yarn and we are going to just start again. There we go. So let's make a slip knot and insert your hook. We're going to get started on our second round of the border, and starting in a corner makes sense. So we're going to yarn over and insert into our chain space, and we're going to do a half double crochet. Now we're going to do a chain, then we do a half double crochet, a chain, and a half double crochet, all in the same chain space. So this is going to be your corner this time. And now we're going to make boxes. So that means we are going to chain one, skip one, and do a half double crochet in the next stitch. Chain one, skip one, half double crochet in the next. Chain one, skip, half double crochet in the next. And this is how you are going to continue all along your blanket, all along the sides of your blanket. But of course, we have a particular multiple, and so it might not work out. So we're just going to have to fudge it. Well, I could actually start counting, the previous row and see how many stitches I've got. But you know me and counting, I'd rather live dangerously and just go for it. So towards the end of this side, I will meet you to see if it works out or if it does not work out. So chain one, skip one, half double crochet in the next stitch. And we are making boxes. So when I get to the corner, I just keep doing the same thing really, just making sure that you have placed your last stitch sort of right before the corner. If it was here, then you do your chain one and you start your corner. Now I'm here, I'm going to chain one and I'm just going to do my corner. And, we'll just hope for the best. It's all good fun, this. It's all good fun. And then we just continue on the other side. When you get to the end, oh my goodness, it works out. Chain one, I guess there's 50% chance. And then we go over to this half double crochet here, but of course, that closes up. So I'm going to try and go into the next stitch, that chain. Just see what you can do just to make sure you close the round. And now you're going to chain up two, and we are going to do half double crochets. And of course here we now have to make sure that we do a sensible corner. So make sure here into this middle half double crochet that you do 3 half double crochets. 1, 2 and 3. So in the chain space you do 2 half double crochets, then on top of that middle half double crochet you place 3, and then once again in that chain space you place 2, and that should make a nice corner. There we go, look. So now we're going to continue, and either you place a half double crochet on top of the half double crochet there and 1 around the chain space, or you could possibly put 2. Let me look at how I could do that. Put 2 into the chain space, but then you would always have to do that. Yeah, so either way, it's one color, so it's not going to make much difference. So choose one way of doing it, but I think I would prefer this way. So 1 on top, 1 around. So I'm going to undo these ones. You can do 2 in the chain space, but it's your choice. So for me, 1 in the chain space, 1 in the V of the half double crochet, 1 in the chain space, 1 in the V. There we go. And that is how I am going to go round all the way. So I have made it to the end of the round, skipping these 2 chains, going under the next V and doing my slip stitch. There we go. So now we can cut off the color, and we are going to, of course, sew in the ends. So now I have made a chain, and I haven't finished it, so it's still attached to my ball. I can still add to it, and it is the length of my whole border, so I can go round my whole blanket and I've still got another short side left over. Okay, so I've got quite a long chain, and using one of these really big hooks with this big hole, I am going to place that onto my needle. Okay, so like this. And I'm now going to start weaving it into my border. So the reason why we've made these here is so that we can get started about there. And we are going to go up and down, up and down. Let me just put this to the side, turn this around, take all my, there, yeah. And so in, out, in, out. Make sure you do not go into any strands, but just in and out of the holes. See? And it's just like sewing really. You're just going to make sure that you pull it to the end of your, yeah, there we go. So I've got a little bit left, that's fine. Let me see if I can go all the way around my blanket. Okay, so I've gone all around. I'd left some here, but this is the one, of course, where you can adjust. So I needed to make sure that I had just about enough for a little bow and an end on this side here. So that's plenty. So I sort of rejiggled it all until I was happy with this end here. And now I'm going to just check to make it over there. I don't want it in the corner. I want the bow here. And then I'm going to make sure my two ends are the same length. And then, yeah, I'll just have to undo this bit here. There we go. And then I'm going to cut off my yarn a little bit further along here. Pull it out. And then I'll just use my fingers to just pull it through to the location where I want it to go. There we go. Voila. And now just make a little bow and see what it looks like. There we go. Little bow, yeah, there we go. And look, I've got little tails there. So I'm now just going to cut those at a, you know, sort of a reasonable length, and I'll sew them in, and I'll check the blanket to see if there's any others that need sewing in. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. I hope you have enjoyed learning this new technique of working with 2 strands, and this of course gives us a stunning effect when you work with the colors like this. I do hope you will try and make this blanket. Yes, I have made a blanket for Layla, a smaller size, but this can easily be turned into the blanket of your desired size. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!